Hello, Flosstube. My name is Laura, and I'd like to welcome you to Stitching by the Shore, my channel all about cross-stitch with a little bit of paper crafting thrown in too. If you are new, I'd like to say welcome. Thank you so much for pressing play. I hope you like what you see. Maybe hit like and subscribe, hang out with us, and I'd love to know what you like to stitch. And if you're a returning stitching friend, thank you also for pressing play. I'm so excited that you're here, and you give me a chance to talk stitching with you, and we get to hang out and just do all stuff cross-stitch, and every once in a while some paper crafting, although today it's all cross-stitch. I have 12 projects for you today. This week, tried to combine challenges. We are into January and we're full force with all the challenges and games that I like to play. They're not for everybody. So rather than having, sometimes, especially when there's the bingo monthly challenges, there can be a lot of projects in a week, but I was able to kind of count them for different things so that in the end, there's only the 12. I did have one start and I had one finish, so that's super exciting. Before I get started with the stitching, I do want to remind everybody that we have a current open artist trading card swap, ATC. The deadline for mailing is on or around February 3rd. Obviously, if it's a few days late, no worries. Maybe the weather gets you or whatever happens. Just let me know and I'll keep an eye out for it. I know some people have reached out for the just to mail to. Many of you already know it, who participate every time. So I'm super excited, but you still have plenty of time, so no worries. I have an idea of one of mine. I'd like to do at least two, so I have to start thinking about, I have other ideas, but I don't know if there's any projects that are that size, because it has to be small. If you're wondering what the heck is an artist trading card swap, if you go to my ATC artist trading card playlist, the very most recent video discusses our current swap, what the trading card is, what the theme is, all the dates, what to send, all of that good stuff. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always ask from there as well. Alrighty, so let's just jump right into stitching. Now, I think, I'm going to reference Magazine Monthly Cross Stitch Challenge is a Facebook group. They are doing Bringo. I also do their monthly acrostics. I don't think I'm going to say what my acrostic projects are because I do two acrostics, both Magazine Monthly and Crafts and Books. And that's a lot of pages to be flipping through, so I probably won't mention those. Besides Bringo, I'm also doing my I Spy Challenge, which is a monthly challenge of prompts that I put out, and you try to spy these projects on your projects, and you decide how much or how little you do, how many prompts, what your goal is, and all of that fun stuff. It's really just for fun. So I have that I'm working on, and then let me see. This is Dragon Month. If you saw me talk about plans, January is Dragon Month for me. And then there was Categories. So Whip Warriors is a closed Facebook group. They open sometime in November of every year for new members, and then they close right before January starts. And one of their monthly games is Categories, which I did participate in, or I am participating in, which I haven't done in a while. So that's fun with that. I also participated in this. Let me see if I have my numbers. This ties into the very first piece I did, or I'm going to show you. Oh, there it is their focus event. So basically, there's a project that you focus on, and for those, I think it was 4 days, you stitch on it. Now, I stitch on other things as well, but you just count your stitches, and at the end, you can say how much you've gotten in those 4 days. Now, I started Black Roses on We're going to get reflections. It is particularly bright because there is the white snow out there. You're seeing it in my glasses. You're going to see it in my iPad. It's just the way it is. There's just a lot of reflection going on. I started this on January 1st for my New Year, New Start, Owl Forest Embroidery. And I loved it so much that I decided I wanted to make it my focus event, or my focus project. And that's what I did. So let me show you where I got. In fact, I have stitched on it since, and so I've got one little extra thing in that wasn't there when I showed it as a focus. So there it is. It looks so good. This is 18 count Pomona, which is from Under the Sea Fabrics. Sadly, so it was a fabric of the month last year in 2024. And I believe she announced which ones made the cut. And I'm almost sure, sadly, Pomona did not. Oh, I should have bought some more. I don't know if there's any available at the moment or if she's cut that off. And only, I think 3 of them made the cut out of all of the fabric of the months. Let me show you up close. Oh, isn't that so pretty? And I really love this purple. It's a little bit darker. Let me take this down so you're not distracted for a minute. I'll show you that in a minute. It's probably closer to this darkness back here. Yeah. But as I come up, it washes it out a little bit. I am using Anchor Black. I have enough Anchor skeins to get me through this project. Yay. And then I am using Pomegranate, which is a variegated floss from Stitchy Stuff Co. And this is more variegated than most of the hand-dyed cotton flosses that I've used before. But I'm doing a kind of it is what it is idea. I'm not fussy cutting. I am not going in any certain directions. What will happen will happen. And that's pretty much how I feel about that. So this is the top corner. And this, of course, is one of the kind of the start of this, I guess you'd call them spires, would you? So I'm only using the 2 colors. Now, I do want to show you, there is a hashtag for this if you'd like to join. I know so many people are stitching it, and everybody's doing it different. It's so awesome. So I originally had talked about it with Mary from Mary's Stitching Corner, and Mary and I were talking this week, and I'm going to go up for a minute to show you closer. See down here, Mary and I are debating whether or not to do this very last row of roses. Because if you see here, she's got some roses around kind of an outline right there. And I'd really like to see if that looks complete. And part of what kind of started our discussion about that was because everything went into Pattern Keeper with adjustments because of the size of the charts, except this bottom area, because that's another page and it's not sized the same. And neither one of us could figure out how to size it right in Pattern Keeper, so it was all one project. I could put it in on its own, or I could just do it by paper. I mean, it's a repetitive pattern, so I'm not really worried about that part. But it cuts off, there's a little tiny row of this, which it'd be easy to do with paper. But that gave me the idea, and I said, Mary, what if we cut this off? And she didn't hate the idea. So we might do that. Did I say Mary's channel is Mary's Stitching Corner? I have Mary listed already. And she has a video out, a most recent video. Yay! So go and watch Mary. She has lovely, lovely projects, and she's a beautiful stitcher. Not only is Mary stitching this, Stephanie from Cross Stitch the Globe has a teeny tiny start, or she did the last time I saw it. So that'll be fun to see her doing it. And then I was just watching Tara. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's one of those names that I always have a mental block. I think it's Tara. Sorry about that. From Recovering Book Hoarder. And she is also doing it, and her colors are amazing. She is not a monochromatic stitcher. She'll take a monochromatic piece and add colors, and she has a phenomenal sense of how and where to do that. So I would highly recommend you watch her stitching it as well, because I think it's going to be so much fun. And then there are several other people on my Facebook page, Stitching by the Shore is the Facebook page if you're so interested, who are also stitching it. And maybe we should have a thread and people can put their updates on it. I don't know. We'll think about it. There are so many cool ways that people are stitching it, and I just can't wait to see this one come alive. Hashtag blackrosessal. So if you want to join in with us, please do so. And it'd be so much fun to see what your take is on it. So yes, anyway, I really do think that this could come out this weekend. I just love, love, love stitching it. So why not do some more? Alrighty. Now for Bringo, now this was the very first, this was day 1 of Bringo, which I talked about last week. And I want to say, let me see here, day 1 was, oh yeah, the picnic one. So I gave you the information on how why that worked for picnic. What I'm trying to do is not repeat any of my projects for Bringo, which means I would work on 25 different whips over the course of Bringo, which I think is great because then that way they get a minimum of 100, but I really try to do more than that and not just the 100. I try to keep going with it and do some more. So, and I'm trying to think, did that have, I don't know if that was part of I Spy at all. Let me see for 1 second here. Yes, a new or your newest start. So that, of course, jumped in right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll follow along with Bringo. I think that would be the easiest, and then we'll show you some of the other stuff as I go. Day 2 was my choice of projects, and I just flipped through and I picked out spring balloons. Carolyns balloons, spring. Maybe I'm subconsciously asking for spring already, even though it's only January 10th. Because I'm over winter and the cold. We are in the midst of extremely cold weather, lots of gusty wind. Every single day you just hear the wind gusting. So it's not a lot of fun out there. So I'm subconsciously looking for spring. So that's what it looks like. And let me show you where I am. Right there. So this is 18 count car wash from Fortnight Fabrics. Let me bring it on up. And I focused this time around mostly down here. And I think I got a little bit with the flowers extra added. And then I should just remember I have to fill those in next time I have that color out. And then I decided to do some houses. There is, as you can see, look at how beautiful this is. But there's a lot of counting. I've already made one mistake at least in it. And I just wasn't in the mood to do that. So I kind of skipped that. And I said, you know what? Houses and stuff like that, that would work nicely. This is the same fabric that I used for autumn. And then the winter piece has the same fabric for summer. And then they will go in the scrapbook in a 4-piece collection when I get spring and summer finished. I already do have autumn and winter finished. So interesting. The one thing too with this is I have it as a paper pattern and it's small. The font is small, so it's a little bit difficult sometimes for me to read. I did get, I was going to bring it. So my one piece of shopping, I got I didn't know what they were called. I was originally looking at recipe holders, but those are for books. Document holder, which makes a lot of sense, right? So it leans up and you can put your document against it. And I was finding, since I now use Pattern Keeper and a device more often, which is up, that when my patterns were down on the desk or on the table, I was having trouble, like I'd be bending over more, and that's not good for your neck. So I got one of those holders. It came in on Thursday and Wednesday. And after 2 days, I am in love with this thing for my paper patterns. So thrilled I got it. And that will help, but that's not going to make, it doesn't have, like the ruler itself doesn't have like a magnifying. That would have been cool if it was a magnified ruler and I could have put it over maybe the line I was on to make it bigger, but that's okay. It's good the way it is still. So that was day 2. Day 3, pick something that signifies growth. And I went with Wings of Change by Silver Creek Samplers. I mean, obviously the flowers and the plants are all growth, but then you have a caterpillar and a butterfly, which if that doesn't signal growth, I don't know. I'm not sure what would. I don't think any of these have been for categories yet. Let me just look at my categories page real quick here. No. Okay, here we go. Actually, let me fold this a little bit. You don't need to see the extra blue. There it is. This is 18 count bell bottom blues from Hand Dyed by Rolanda. So let me bring it on up for you. And I was working on this on a Zoom actually. So I did a lot of pretty much, all this, not all of this greenery. I had some of it done, but then I really focused in. I'm not sure if you're going to see the different color there. All of this got finished. And then I decided to add a tiny bit I had a little extra time before I had to pop off. And so I added some of the orange. Now, I believe that's probably, I don't know if all of the, let me see. If I see the pattern, A lot of it is, some of it's DMC, just a couple, and then also Classic Colorworks. Well, I am doing my own variegated on just the orange, and it is Pumpkin Spice from Stitchy Stuff Co. Everything else I'm using DMC. So obviously there'll be small bits and pieces, and there's a tiny bit in person of variegation. You probably won't see it here. You know, as you can tell, I mean, if I'm telling you that black rose is that red is the most highly variegated I've used, that I really prefer variegateds that are subtle and not heavy changes in colors. That's just my preference. Alrighty, so let's move on. Day 4 was favorite designer. Now, I don't have a favorite designer. What I did was because I mean, at any given time, it could be anybody, you know, it's like, what pattern is my favorite at the time? So I looked at what I had most open going, and it probably would have been between Al Forrest and Jan Hicks. Jan Hicks probably wins out. I think I have a little bit more open ones for her, so that's what I went with. Let me show you the original, and then I will show you where I am. This one is one of my, it's one of my oldest projects, so I should look up here, actually. This is called Earth Laughs, and it is from Jan Hicks. Now, she charted it in Cosmo, which, you can see my window there. And I am actually trying it with the Cosmo. She does give a DMC alternative. I'm ambivalent about the Cosmo. Would I go out of my way to buy it again? No, not really. I mean, it wasn't that much more expensive than the DMC, but I would just use DMC, I think, going forward. But here we are. Now, this is 20 count, the very first time I tried 20 count, and probably my only non-18 count project currently active, and it is Ice Blue from To Die For Fabrics, who are no longer dying, but you might be able to find them on the secondary market. And if you've been with me for any period of time, you know I've struggled with this. The one strand has been a challenge for me. It was a learning curve for me because it's one of the few projects I do have one strand on. When I did one strand with Sulky, I did not have the same fraying issues as I did with this, the Cosmo. I pull very strong. So sometimes I think that I'm my own worst enemy when it comes with that. But I really would like to get this one finished. I'm starting to do my notes for my whip parade. I want to say it's probably a 2020 start. So it would really is time to get it finished. And what did I do? I finished the border. That was a big thing. And yay, it all met up. I had some down here to go and some over here. So that was the first thing I decided to tackle. That was by far the color that was used the most. A while back, I was afraid I might run out, but I'm nowhere near. I have plenty. I mean, I was only using one strand. I should have known better. And then I did this entire corner right here as well. And I still have to fill in, like, that's a butterfly that has to have the center part of it. At this point, the corners are done, the border is done, the words are done. There are some stray butterflies, I want to say, around here, and then there is this flower. Now, I do have a counting error in it, but I am not going to frog it. I'm just going to fudge it somehow. It's between a page break, and I think I messed up somehow with the greenery, and then I counted obviously the flower off of that. So the flower is going to get a little bit reshaped because this side won't meet up with this side because we're right down the page break right here. And actually, this might be a 4-page break, which makes it even harder. I obviously have the, I have it as a digital, but I didn't, at this point, I mean, it's probably not worth it to try to put it in Pattern Keeper. I was doing it as a paper pattern, so I'll just keep going with it at that point. So once that's, I'm gonna tackle this next, and then I will do all the small little pieces after that and have it a finish. So that's exciting. I'm happy to see it's almost there. There might have been a time where I was ready to kind of give up on it. I'm glad I kept with it. there was a lot of learning lessons with it. And, you know, I mean, that's helpful, right? It also helps you decide what kind of stitching you like or don't like when it comes to strands and counts and what you do or flosses. So I'm looking at it as a kind of a learning curve to me. And that was, oh, actually, no, Spring Balloons was part of I Spy for the letter J. I did Jan Hicks. I could have used this one as well, but I didn't. All right, day 5 is my finish. I don't need to show you the original. I'm just going to show you my finish. Yay! Here it is. Ireland is done. Every time in the last 4 months, if there was an I in the acrostic, I put Ireland in. Now I have to figure out something else. This is 18 count champagne from Hand Dyed by Rolanda. Now in the original, this is Vlada XStitch who designed this. It does say Ireland. I chose not to put that in and just have it like this. I really would like to scrapbook this with pictures kind of thing. I did change one of the greens, but ultimately I did keep all of them besides that just one. If you follow me, you know that I really struggled with that. And I know that was part of the problem of why this pattern took so long to stitch. But I'm happy with the final result. I think it looks nice, and I think it really works. I'd finished this while Mo and I were watching TV, and I held it up, and he knew exactly what it was, so that's good. And yeah, I am just so pleased with how it came out. This one here, besides, oh, so the prompt was something with flowers on Bringo. And if you can see, there's just a tiny little bit. I mean, they're more implied than they are like a physical flower, but I really wanted to get this one finished and, you know, kind of finish it up. Yeah, so I was hoping maybe for 2024, but I didn't quite swing it because that was my goal. But the first week of 2025, that works too. And now I can say I have a finish for 2025 already. But yeah, so that's how I put it in there. And I think I used it for I Spy. Let me see. Maybe not. I thought it was an I Spy. Oh, it might have been for categories. Yes, so the categories letters this month, because they're difficult letters, are V, K, and C. And the designer name Vlada XStitch is what I use this one for. So that was able to come in handy. Now we have a finish on that one. Yay! And it will for now go into the pile until I get my scrapbook stuff out. And there's a lot to scrapbook, so that may not be the first one that ends up being scrapped. All right, next. The next day, oh, let me flip over my calendar here. So here are my 2 books that I'm looking at. This is my challenge calendar for 2025, and it is a dotted kind of bullet journal, 160 GSM, and that has made all of the difference for me using markers. And then this is my planner, and as you can see, that's where I'm looking from right now. And I put all of my stitchy stuff and other stuff and, you know, kind of a little bit of everything mishmash in there. All right, so day 6 was something with a bird. Now, this week was Summer Quaker week, so I said, okay, how I know I want to put stitches into Summer Quaker as it is, can I use it for a prompt? And there are birds here, so that's what I did. And I'm excited to show you this. Now, if I'd paid attention, my outer border would be completely done. It is almost completely done, so we'll talk about it in a second. So that's what it looks like right now, full. What did I do? Well, first off, I had these crabs I had to finish. So the only thing that they need now are their eyes, but all of their legs are all finished. And then this element needed to be finished, all of those outer parts. This element needed to be finished, so I got that done. And then the one thing that I haven't, where is he? I haven't, I was stitching on him, and Mo must have called me down or something or other, and I didn't get a chance. Oops, nope. Where is he? There he is. And I thought I'd finished him, and I hadn't. I had done some of his legs. He needs a claw and the rest of his legs there, and then his eyes. And in the meantime, I had done, not realizing I had the crabs left, I finished the words and I started the lighthouse. So one of the prompts that I had for I Spy in January was a project that would be a dream to finish, kind of like, you know, a lofty goal. And I put it as this because we are in the middle. Now, having said that, many of you know, this is full coverage. You know, so half of it is full coverage, half of it is not. But, I mean, the way I'm looking at it is, okay, yes, it's full coverage, and it is a paper pattern, so that's the one thing that could hold me back. So you're talking halfway, you know, all of this. I do full coverage every single day, giant full coverage pieces. And if I keep this in the rotation of 500 a month, I mean, there can't be more than 6,000 stitches, are there, in that? I will probably, I'd like to maybe do 1 month, have this be a daily 100. So that would get it 3,000 for that month. So we'll see. I'm really going to think about that when I set my goals, because in my whip parade, I started this last year. I put goals for every single one of my pieces. And I don't remember what the goal was yet for 2024. I have to look at all of that. I'm in the process of doing all that. But this might have a lofty goal of a finish. I think that would be fun. And I did use this one for categories. So the letter C has come in the handiest. I've only used the V once, but C for crab, something that was in or near water. So, all righty. Next. Oh, okay, so a project that intimidates me. Stick with me on this one. There's a story. When is there not a story, right? All righty. If you were in my Facebook page, you most likely saw my dilemma, and you probably weighed in on it too, which thank you so much for everybody. Where is it? Oh gosh, did I not put it in my charts? Let me see. Oh, there it is. Thank you so much for everybody who weighed in on this. I took all of your suggestions to heart, and some of you really made me think about some things just to check, which was so helpful. Cross-stitch people are the best. All right, so the prompt was something to intimidate me. There is a reason. This itself doesn't intimidate me. I mean, I'm doing a Lina Ova Mary Poppins, so doing another Lina Ova is fine. This one is Cinderella, and it is from Lina Ova. And I purposely chose this one as a start, and it was on January 6th because I wanted to celebrate Allison's birthday from Cross Stitch the Globe. Happy belated birthday, Allison. She's doing a hashtag princessbirthdaysal. So you find something that has a princess. It doesn't have to be Cinderella. I know she does a lot of Cinderella pieces. And stitch it. And on Mary Poppins, I am not doing the outer border, but I felt like on this one, it really needed it, and it wasn't as big. The Mary Poppins one is at least twice the size of this, and it kind of, I don't know if it overwhelms it a little bit, whereas this one kind of works with it a little bit better. Now, having said that, I had picked out my fabrics, but I hadn't really paid attention to the stitch size of that or the size of my fabrics. And I've had a piece that I really, really wanted to do. I, you know, kind of thought about what I wanted for colors of Cinderella, and I wanted to do blue. And I had two options, one piece that was bigger and it was opal, but it wasn't going to work as well with the floss. Or there was this color. I'm showing you this side first. Isn't that awesome? And then the floss I chose, I'm using DMC. This is a big project, and DMC works fantastic for it. I'm using 3325. I feel like that's a good Cinderella color. So you can see, I absolutely love that kind of combo. The problem is this fabric up and down is fine because it's you know, I'm going to show you the back so you don't see it. It's tall enough. But side to side, I was giving myself a 1/2 inch margin. So I put a post on Facebook and I basically said, how crazy am I? Because I really, really want to use this, but I'm only giving myself 1/2 inch. And I got a variety of answers between we're all crazy, go for it, to don't you dare, go find something else. and everything in between. Now, the other problem is this, for some reason, has no tag. So I have no idea who the hand dyer is, and I have no idea what color it is, if I even knew it, the hand dyer. So that obviously creates a problem, because some people just said, well, get yourself a bigger piece. And I can't, because I don't know what it is. And when I set my mind sometimes to something, I have it in my head and my head can't see anything else. And so it just kept seeing this, kept seeing this. So a couple people suggested 1 to count if it's hand dyed. Maybe it's a little tighter, and they are correct. It's running closer to 20 than it is to 18. So that gives me a slight little extra. I mean, not much, but a little bit. And the other thing people said was to measure the sides all the way down to make sure that they are straight. Now, they're not 100% straight, but they will be straight enough for this. I have no idea what it's unfortunately going to be too big for the scrapbook, because I think it's a 16 by 16, somewhere around those lines. Because otherwise I wouldn't care. If it was scrapbooked, I could have that much margin and I'd be fine. I don't know what it will be when it's finished. It may just stay in the drawer for all I know. So I didn't, in the end, I didn't worry about that. What I did was I found the very middle. I'm going to show you. This looks ridiculous, but there's a method to my madness. This is what I have. Does that not look ridiculous? So what I did first was I found the middle, and I figured the quickest thing to stitch would be this straight line. So I counted down. This is a little bit bigger margin, but you'll notice I didn't give a ton there. I love this fabric and I'll have some left, so I didn't want to waste it. And so I counted down, I started there and I stitched all the way across here, and then I did the side part. So on this side, you can see what my margin is. Now, I did go from the middle, but I was a little concerned. So then I came up here and then I stitched this and came over here. This is actually a little bit tighter on this side, but that's my margin there. Now, luckily, because some people did say, well, make sure that you don't have fraying. It is serged all the way around, except for the selvage edge, of course. So it will not fray. So that's one thing I do not have to worry about, which I'm very grateful for. And then I think I did some more stitching on it. I was thinking for categories, there is a prompt that is like magical, mystical. What's the other part of the prompt? Let me see. Magical, mystical, mythical. Well, this is a fairy tale. So I'm thinking that might work. I might have to ask, because if I want to count it, but this is the letter C, so it'd be Cinderella, so it'd be perfect. In my own book, I'm counting it. If Whip Warriors doesn't accept it, then I'll just do it for myself. But that's where it is. And then I kind of like this. So I did spend some more time. I think I did some of the flower, and then I started to do a little bit more extra than I needed to. It'd be kind of nice to have the top done and then just work my way down. So this is the ridiculousness of my start. But happy birthday, Allison. Here's my Cinderella start. And I just love this fabric. I think it's going to be so pretty on it. So it will be worth it. And you know what? If there's problems on the edge, I'm not going to worry about it. It will be time well spent while I'm enjoying stitching it. And then the rest is all just what happens, happens. All right, I'm running out of room over here. They're starting to fall. Okay, next. The next prompt was bundle up. All righty. Well, anything cold, and that's what we're doing is bundling up, is fair game. And I was watching, well, there's a lot of people stitching this. Andrew is stitching this. Or was stitching it over Flossmas and got a stinking amount done. They're just awesome. Looks fantastic. And then Jen from Jen's Fiber Web, Jen finished it. It looks fabulous. Jen is on fire with her stitching right now. And then Helen D, was working on it and showed it in her last Flosstube. So if you haven't guessed yet, it's Santa's House from the Fabulous House series. It's #1 from Cottage Garden Samplings. And now I've started this. I had started this I don't know, I think earlier in September or November, maybe. And then, you know, obviously I have a lot of projects, so it's that, which is fine. But I was inspired by all of them to get it out again. And this is where I am. This is 18 count Frozen Lake. Oh, Cinderella. Oh, I did tell you, I didn't know who the dyer was. I have no clue who the hand dyer is. So we just roll with it. I'm looking at my notes and couldn't remember if I'd said that. So Frozen Lake from Bestitchme. Isn't this pretty? Look at this. Gorgeous. Now, the white really pops in person, which is the point of why I wanted to change the fabric. The fabric, you can see the white decently on here, but I just really wanted it to pop. You know, when I like to do winter, I like to kind of bring in that blue. So this is what, in person, the white really, really pops. And I'm all over the place. I think the last time I stitched on it, I did come here. I'm almost down to the bottom. It's probably about there. So it's not a huge piece. I can't remember if it's kind of like, they're squares. So I don't know if it's like an 8 by 8, maybe. I don't remember. And then I did the window. And I think I did some of the roof. I jumped all over. I pretty much just picked colors and went with it. There's a little bit of the red, some of those stripes I filled in. So kind of a little here, a little there. This worked for Bringo prompt. And then I also pulled it out for categories because I'm going to have to show because my stitching doesn't show it, but reindeer are also called caribou. So that's the letter C. And that was for the animals prompt. So I thought, ooh, good. I got a little extra on this one. And I probably will give it another time. I want to say, I might have used this for I Spy as well. Let me see. I have this Band-Aid on my thumb, so it's hard to do the pages. Yes, an animal with a coat, and deer have fur, so I consider that a coat. So I was able to use that for 3 different challenges, and so it will come out at least once more. I'm not sure next week because there's a lot on the plan for next week, but at some point before the end of the month. I'm gonna go this way with these. Oops, let me make sure I put this in the bag so we have it. Okay, next. That was all for Bringo. Because I had enough projects, I didn't bring yesterday's project onto this. You'll see that next week. It was something with a border, I think, which, that's easy. There's not a lot that you have to worry about with that. Half my projects probably have borders. Am I stitching them? Sometimes. All right. So you know that January for me is Dragon Month, and I am embracing all things dragons. So the full coverage piece that I'm trying to work on 100 stitches a day is The Love We Share. It is charted by Stitches So Beautiful, and the artwork is by Serr, Quill. And I just think of that as Violet. Now, obviously, Taryn would be a lot bigger than that, but you know, semantics. And Violet would have white hair, but you know, just go with it. Just work with me here. This is where I am. 18 count, white Aida, 2 strands over 1 full cross. And I didn't really do much on this side. I really worked more over here. A lot of this was done. So that's like the top of the dragon. You're almost seeing through some of the, I don't even know what part of that dragon that would be called. So I really was enjoying those colors. This here is all, you know, kind of like a background, and you can see all that beige. I did do some. I did all that over there and started to pull some over, but I didn't want to just work on beige. I really wanted some color. And so I did work on this as well. This one will come out every day as much as possible to work on for 100 stitches. I think today's prompt for Bringo might be a piece with more than 10 colors, which any full coverage I have, that's easy. So this one may count for that. We'll see. I mean, I'm stitching on it anyway, so why not combine it? And I want to say, oops, the Magazine Monthly, they slate it as either 1 hour or 100 stitches. And then of course you can make your challenges more than that if you want. But I've been doing that. So that kind of coincides with my 100 stitches a day for that piece anyway. Okay, so what's next? Let me show you in my patterns here. Okay, nope, not that. I need to, when I do my whip parade, I will do a new all-inclusive file or album in my iPad that will have all of my current projects. Right now I'm kind of flipping around a little bit. So this one I started last January. And that is the US Quaker flag, charted by Vivsters. And their January, I want to say it was like 26th. There was this, that was the start of a stitch along on this one. Gail Wombat Hollow Crafts was one of the 2 people running the stitch along, and she's finished it, I think. I am almost sure on her last floss tube, she may have shown it finished. I know I've seen it from Gail, and you know, my brain sometimes just, this morning, after we had woken up, I was trying to say different things to Mo, and my mind, the synapses in the brain were not firing yet. And so I would start to say something, and then I couldn't connect. I could think it in my head, but I couldn't connect it with my words. And so I was thinking, boy, this could be an interesting floss tube today, but I'm doing better right now. Anyway, this got taken up by so many people across the world, and it kind of ballooned into people all over the world stitching their flags. And I know one of the ones that I've seen the farthest along that is regularly worked on is Karen, Stitching Owl. And she's just doing a fantastic job keeping up with it. I'm not doing as great a job. I might have to take what Karen's doing and take a page from her book, because I think she's looking at it as a certain amount a week. So here's mine. You can see this is the full, but I'm not there yet. And I think it's going to take the full width. What am I doing with it afterwards? I don't know. Let me show you where I am. So that's what's completely done, but I'm going to fold over to really focus on what I did. This came out a few times this week. I finished, this was not done, so I finished the red here, which got me a little bit more red there. Now, it depends on, if I'm by myself doing this, then I can work on the Quakers. If I'm doing this with people or in a Zoom, I've been using the fill-in as part of what to do. So you can see here, there's a little bit of white I was able to start, but this Quaker had to be finished, filled in with the blue, and I had a little bit left on that strand, so I did a little bit there. And this white had already been stitched, so I came down and started doing filling in of that too. Now, what kind of saves us with the US flag, if I go back to the picture for a minute, the blue and white is all fill-in, but the red and white for the stripes is just the Quaker. Whereas I think pretty much every other flag that she has charted, every one of these squares, I don't think you actually stitch the Quaker. I think you stitch, or do you? Stitch the Quaker. It's not a background. Maybe it's you stitch that and then you have to fill in. But all of their squares are fill-ins, which, I mean, that's a lot. Versus once I get done with the fill-ins here with the stars, this won't be as big a project as many of the other people doing this for their countries. So we'll see. If it doesn't get some good work done on it, and I'll say the first 6 months of the year, then I think I will start putting some guidelines, like a certain amount of stitches a month. Try to get a certain amount done each month, excuse me, and then go on from there. I just feel like that's the only way it's going to get finished. Otherwise, it's just going to linger. Alrighty. This one right here you saw last week. This was also a January 1st start. It's the Blessing Sampler 2025 from the Camping Stitcher. I use this as a I Spy prompt, new to me designer. I've never stitched anything from the Camping Stitcher. Her chart is lovely. I got the digital. I don't know if there's paper, but I ordered digital. I did not put it into Pattern Keeper. When they're fairly easy to read, and hers is nice, big sized, easy to read. And now that I can put it in my document holder, it will be super easy. I don't bother putting it into Pattern Keeper. It's just the ones that are small fonts that I have digital, or obviously things that are more full coveragey. So let me show you where I am. Oh, this is 18 count. It's called Orange Pico. It's from Under the Sea Fabrics. It also was a fabric of the month last year from Under the Sea. And sadly, I'm not sure this one made the cut either, which is really sad. She does have a line of kind of like tea inspired names, and that's where this one was. So maybe on the off chance, so it's a little bit darker. That's the color in real life. Let me come on up, it'll look lighter. I'm using a variegated thread on this one. It is, hold on a second, let me just, I think it's Eggplant, but let me double check. I have the tag. Eggplant from Stitchy Stuff Co. And it is very lightly variegated. It may not even show up there on camera as opposed to in person. And I'm not looking for heavily variegated on this one. So this one will come out obviously every week until it's done, because the goal is to get it finished in January. I am not stitching, as you can see, because you can see there the top lace, kind of lacy border. I'm not stitching any part of the alphabet. So I brought that lacy border over here, and I'll do the same thing. The counting is perfection in the sense that it works perfectly without putting the letters in. It's exact same count as if you did. So I don't have to finagle anything or fudge anything. I can just look at the pattern and kind of go with it. So the house is almost done, which, I mean, frankly, is the biggest chunk of stuff. I have another set of windows right here, and then a little bit of grass there. The words are going to go super easy, I think. The elements over here, and then it's just border. So it's January 10th. This will come out every week. So I have no doubts that I can get that one finished by the end of the month. In fact, it'd be nice if I got it finished even sooner than the end of the month, but I'm not pushing myself. It'll get done by the end of the month, whether it's the 31st or the 21st or whatever in between. All right, so my very last piece. So the last 2 winters, I have had a snow stitch that, unless I was chasing a stray snowflake, never came out. And I did that last year. I think I was like, I see a snowflake floating in the air, one. And so I'm pulling out my snow stitch. Not so much this year. This year, we got a big old storm this week. And I chose to be a little contrary. I chose Celtic Dragon. And because I want to have the dragon's fire blow away all of the snow. Or melt all the snow, I guess I should say, not blow it away. If you are new, I'm debating on, I'm not doing both kind of that moon shape and the border. I'm doing one or the other around the dragon right now. I'm focusing on the dragon. And she is being stitched with a variegated blue. It's called She's So Blue from Roxy Floss Co. Because she is being stitched as Segale. And Segale is Xaden's dragon in Fourth Wing, if you are familiar with the series. Dragon month is this month because Onyx Storm is coming out January 21st. I have it on pre-order. That night, I most likely will not be stitching. I will be reading. And here we are. Let me fold this over a bit so I can see what I'm showing you. Here we are. So this got more work. It's getting so close. At this point, I'm just down here. Now, we always say, oh, that'll take no time to do. And then it takes longer than you think it will. But I would like to get this finished, the dragon, Segale, done by the end of January. February, obviously, we're going to be heading into the year of the snake. I have no plans probably to stitch a snake, so there's no worry with that. I'll just keep going with this one. Yeah, I just love it. I did use this for categories for, it's called Celtic Dragon, so there's a C, and so pattern title was what I used it for. We are supposed to get some flurries this weekend, so I think this one's coming out again tomorrow, Saturday. And it will get some more snow stitch time. 2x2 stitch art. I'm not sure I said that. And this did go into Pattern Keeper, which was great because I was struggling at page breaks. I originally just had this printed off, and it's been working really nicely in Pattern Keeper. There is a hashtag. I started this for hashtag Year of the Dragon Sal, and that stitch along was started by the Hugo Stitcher and Fabric and Floss Canada. So let me write their names down so that I can link them. If you look in the description box below me, below the video, I list the projects. I list who the designer is, the fabrics, the flosses, if I remember stuff, or if, you know, I cut and paste a lot, which is useful, or I do it after, you know, I mean, if I do it right after, as I'm uploading the video, then I kind of have a reminder of what, you know, I mean, I remember in my head, and there's not that much to type, so it works. But below that, I also list floss tubers that I have mentioned. And I was having some trouble with the links, but last video, it did show up as a clickable link. I don't know why YouTube was doing that to me. For a couple videos, it wouldn't give me a clickable link. But at the very least, you had the name of the Flosstube channel. Because sometimes, you know, we talk fast and sometimes you don't quite catch. I know that happens to me, and I have to look at the description box to see who somebody was talking about. But Sigale will get some more work. I did kind of wanted to give her some weekly work anyway, because it is my dragon month. So I can see, now I don't want snow every week. I hope I've not jinxed it now. I've had the snow. I didn't need it, but I've had it, so we're good. It could not snow again for the rest of the winter, and I'd be happy. But I was looking, the Love We Share was a daily stitch. This one was a weekly stitch. And then the second half of the month, there'll be another daily full coverage stitch along with Love We Share, I think. And then a new start the day that the book comes out. So that was how I was planning my dragon month. Let me show you. This was distracting with the glare, so I didn't want to show you before. I have up here, today I had up, I know it could be Christmassy because it's a tree farm, but I thought it would also be kind of wintry. This is I think it was called Tree Farm from Prairie Schooler. And I stitched it on a white opal, 18 count. And it is in my scrapbook. So that's why you're getting the glare, because that's the scrapbook page. I generally, once they're in the scrapbook, do not take them out. This is acid-free page protectors, and then it keeps them safe and their edges safe, and the stitching, you can touch it without touching my stitching. So there we go. And that will go in the scrapbook after the season's over. Sometimes I also leave them out on my shelves as a decorative element as well, and then I just rotate them as the seasons go. So that is the piece up there this week. I try to rotate that whenever I can. I need to pull out some winter stuff now. Alrighty, that is all of my stitching this week. Plans. So tomorrow, no, today's the 10th, right? I don't have my fabric chosen yet, and I may change some of the flosses, so stay tuned. This is called One Stitch at a Time. It's from La Di Da, and Across the Pond, which is a Facebook group, is doing this as a stitch along. Now, I am not going to stitch the flowers, and I'm not sure about the borders. I may just do this section right here. You know me, I like to change fabrics. I have thought about Darling David, or I'm thinking a whole nother direction. Depending on the colors, I was thinking of that orange Pico that I'm doing my blessing sampler on. I'm doing the DMCs. I can't remember what it's charted in for overdyes, but there's a few I want to change. And then I don't know if I want to jazz it up a bit. I think I need to decide on the floss colors first, and then I'll make the decision on the fabric. So I could go more traditional with Darling David, or I could kind of go a little bit more out there. We'll see. Darling David is a phenomenal color of fabric from Those Missing Stitches, and she rotates quite a few of her colors in and out throughout the year, monthly, quarterly. But Darling David last year was a yearly piece, and I think, according to her Facebook page, it will be a year-round available piece this year too. which is phenomenal because everything I've stitched on it looks great. So that is one of my plans. I am currently making all of my notes for my whip parade. I have made notes. I haven't figured out the goals yet, but that'll be easy. I've made the notes for everything up to the end of 2023. So I have to pull out my other book for my 2024 stitching and make the notes on that. Because generally I do my whip parade chronologically from oldest to newest. I don't know if I will include the 2025 pieces, even though they're technically whips now, but I may just cut it off at 2024. And I think I could, if I've been working sporadically back and forth on it. Mo is pickleballing this weekend. He found a place that has indoor pickleball, so he's thrilled. I think on Sunday. So if I can get all my notes done, I may film it on Sunday, which means it'll probably go up maybe Monday. If not, but I don't see why not. I have all of my notebooks. I have everything. I have all of my colors of markers and all of that good stuff. So I'm hoping to get that done. I had asked about what people prefer, and I got so many answers. Thank you so much for giving me your opinions of that. And so what I'm thinking of doing, like I said, if I can get it uploaded on Monday, that way if you don't like whip parades, you don't have to watch it. You can just watch my regular videos. You don't have to watch it concurrently with any of my other videos. You just, at some point, maybe you have a stray moment and you want to watch it. That's great. Maybe you want to watch that and skip a week or two of my regular, however you want to do it. I think that'll work the best. I will try to keep things moving because I do think I have more whips. I'm 99% sure I have more this year than I did last year. And I think last year I came in at about 77 or 78. Now, I don't have excessively more, probably about 80, somewhere between 85 and 90. So I'm hoping to kind of keep it moving in a pace so that we don't have a 10-hour whip parade. I myself have trouble with anything longer than 2 hours, to be honest with you, especially because there are so many fabulous things to watch on Flosstube. So I will be cognizant of that. I won't rush. I'll make sure it's, complete, but at the same time, I do want to be respectful of your time because there's a lot out there for us to watch. The other thing I wanted to talk about, Lisa from Shady Trees Stitchery is her Flosstube. She is a modmin on Whip Warriors. So if you, I don't know if you do the road trip, she might be one of the moderators on the road trip. I don't know. She does different moderating duties on Whip Warriors. So I'm sure you've seen her. She also has a company that she designs patterns. She dyes fabrics. It's called Paddock Lane Designs. Let me make sure I'll list Lisa's. Oh, my pen is starting to go. I think I've run out of ink. All right, I got the L. So I'll list Lisa's Flosstube as well as her Paddock Lane Design YouTube channel. She started one for her Paddock Lane's designs. Anyway, she had reached out to me and I had not heard of this, and she said, have you heard of the Great Australian Cross Stitch Shindig? And I had not. Now, this date's listed here are January 26th and 27th, which I believe is US 25th and 26th, which, if I flip my calendar, would be the very last Saturday and Sunday of the month. And she said, well, I'd love to have you hear about it because, this might be something you're interested in, because I've done the Jingle Ball and stuff like that. So it is somewhat, I mean, I don't know all of the details yet, but I think there's going to be classes, there's going to be chat rooms, there's going to be Australian designers and Australian floss tubers, and I'd like to know more people around the world. I know some Australian floss tubers and a few Australian designers, but I would really like to expand my horizons and meet more people on the other side of the world. So I said, absolutely. I talked to Mo. I said, do we have anything going on that weekend? He said, don't think so. I said, okay, I'm doing this. He promptly signed up for some pickleball sessions. So he'll go do his thing, and I will be at the Great Australian Cross Stitch Shindig. So if you go to Paddock Lane Designs, there is a section to buy a ticket. I want to say US, it's only $7. And that gets you into the event, and maybe we'll see each other there. And as I get more information, I will release it to you. But I am so excited. I think it'll be fun to just meet more and more people. It's always nice to meet more people. So those are my plans really at this point. I think Mary Poppins will be my rotational piece for next week. I know it's going to snow, so we'll see our snow stitch. And then Blessing Sampler will definitely get stitched on, as well as my dragon daily piece and maybe black roses. And then we'll see what happens with categories. Not categories, Bringo, because that always, in January for the first 25 days, that gives me prompt ideas. Alrighty, I got one lovely piece of happy mail when the mail started back again. There was some days where we didn't get any mail whatsoever. And I got the cutest holiday card. I love this from Teresa. Is that not the most adorable card you've ever seen? And oh, it looks like my chamois. Chamois was probably a little beigeier, but oh my gosh, the expression, the eyes, I absolutely love it. So thank you, Teresa. I loved your lovely note inside. I hope you're doing better. And I so appreciate you. You gave me a smile when I opened this up. In fact, this little picture was on the envelope as well. So you got a little hint of what was inside. So thank you. This really made my day. And shopping, nothing. So I told you that there's very few things, and patterns generally I will put in a wish list, and I'm fast shopping for me for PDF patterns or a hard copy is, a couple days. It's been sitting there and then I go and buy it. Very rarely do I impulse buy patterns because they're not really going anywhere. Fabric, on the other hand, because obviously fabric dyers take the time, it has to take time to be hand dyed and this and that and all of that. So when Lynn opened up what colors were the first quarter of 2025, of course I ordered some right away. Well, yesterday we got the email from Brandy from Bestitchme. She periodically has a bunch of ready to ship fabrics available, and so she'll do like a ready to ship weekend, and it's either through the weekend or when the pieces sell out. And she has released this most gorgeous maroony red. I don't even know. I saw somebody post how wouldn't black roses look phenomenal on it, and it would. I mean, if I, just stitch it in, oh my God, it would be beautiful. So as soon as I got the email, I popped over to Bestitchme, and there's a red and a pink coming. I had to have that red, and she also released a very cute pink as well recently, and so I was like, And those are ready to ship, so it won't take, because Bestitchme takes 3 months a lot of times for custom color orders to come in, but this will come faster, so I'm so excited. But I don't know if they're still available, but if you head on over to Bestitchme, the link is down in my favorite fabrics in the description box. She may or may not have I don't know what she has left for ready to ship. She didn't just have those few reds or pinks. I want to say she also had some ready to ship neutrals and stuff as well. But my eyes were zeroed in on that red. So there is some shopping coming. It just isn't here right yet. All right, so that's all the stitching stuff. If that's all you're here for, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Life. Well, this week has been dictated by the weather. That snowstorm that was coming across the country, some people got ice. I hope everybody's okay with that. It hit us in the mid-Atlantic. I'm in Delaware, if you are new. Hit us, especially southern Delaware. And generally, we don't get it as much as northern Delaware, I think. I mean, I've only been here full-time for a few years. So here I am acting like I've lived here my whole life. I don't get the sense that southern Delaware gets the same high amounts as, say, northern Delaware, mid or northern. But it hit us the hardest by the beaches. And so we got at least 10 inches, if not a foot of snow, because while it was snowing, and it started, I think, Sunday night, all day Monday, and then through Monday into Tuesday morning, I think. And it was coming down quite heavily at different points. Now, down here in Delaware, now I grew up in Connecticut, spent most of my life there. They know how to plow roads. They know how to prep roads. People sort of know how to drive in it. I mean, there's a majority of people who think that they can just zip along no matter what's out there on the roads. But there are more people that understand how to drive on it. Down here, it's not the same. They don't have the number of plows. They don't have the amount of like pre-treatment or sand or experience on how to plow when they do plow. Add to that, I live in a community that the roads are considered private. They're just not, state roads. So our community actually has to hire somebody to come and plow. So that means that first the road to get to my community has to be plowed for them to get there. And then they have to be able to come in. And the management company uses, I think, this same company for a bunch of the different communities they manage, because there's quite a few communities down here in Southern Delaware. Well, we got hit with the snow. Now it was lighter and fluffier. Thank goodness. It was not like there wasn't sleet and things like that in there. So that was the saving grace with that. But I mean, obviously a foot of snow is a foot of snow, however you look at it. We no longer have a snowblower, so Mo was out there, but Con was still here. So Con also helped Mo with the snow. Because nobody trusts me anywhere near anything icy. If I can trip or fall, odds are I might, and we have enough trouble with my hip. We do not want to do anything more to it. They did not, I don't know if they did a single pass in the middle of the road just in case emergency vehicles needed to get in. And they basically said to people, please don't drive. Now, obviously some people still work. Not everybody is retired down here. And some people have doctor's appointments that may or may not, or whatever. So, sometimes you have to get out. It was not a regular plow. That was the other thing that was totally shocking to me when I saw it. It was kind of one of those like little caterpillar, I don't even know exactly. So they did have, sort of a plow thing, but not a huge one. And certainly not like the regular big truck plows that would plow. So realize that meant that these lanes were going to be that much smaller, right? So they did the initial lane. The next day, I think they came back and tried to widen it some more. My street still is really kind of one lane-ish. I'm a little worried if two cars try to go by, because we have our streets in our community are narrow anyway. And it took, I think, 3 days for the roads out public, kind of state roads to even do well. What generally happens if it snows down here is it melts within the day, because 1, we don't get a foot of snow, and 2, it's warmer usually. But we are in that blast of frigid cold air. So we're getting highs in the 20s, wind chills, blah, blah, blah. The only saving grace has been every single day this week, it's been sunny. Now, 20 degrees and sunny is not going to melt a ton, but it will if you've, like, for example, our driveway, once you've shoveled it, if the sun hits it and we get the afternoon sun, which is great, it will melt it and dry it. So our driveway is melted and dry. You can see the asphalt. In fact, I think I hear something plow-wise coming potentially now. But if it's packed down at all, it's not melting, because it's just not warm enough. And so there's, different intersections around our community are still pretty dicey. Up to yesterday afternoon, I went out, and most of the roads out were doing pretty good. But I guess before that, people who had to go out said it was really still dicey, and if it's dark and you can't see, and once that packed snow gets down, it's more icy, right? So it can get dangerous. I have been in the house. I didn't leave the house. I went out on Sunday because I got to go somewhere. But then I was in Monday all the way to yesterday afternoon, Thursday afternoon. And I ran to the doctor's office for something else, but I do have a slight little infection on my thumb, by my thumbnail. The doctor was fabulous and saw me. I was going for something else and said, can I make an appointment? And she's like, I'll fit you in right now. The doctor saw me, gave me some antibiotics. He didn't have to slice it, thank goodness. So I can still stitch. I was worried that, because I stitch lefty. Because, it all comes back to whether or not we can stitch, right? So I'm on antibiotics. Hopefully that will get rid of the infection. If not, he'll see me right away again. So that was my big adventure out yesterday, was the doctor's office and then CVS for my prescription. I live an exciting life around here. Other than that, that's life stuff. Con has driven back up to New England. They're not back at school yet, because you can't move back quite yet, but they're spending a couple days with my in-laws in Connecticut. And so their grandparents, which is always great to get some grandparent time. And that way we were concerned because we didn't know what the weather would be like. So we said, you're going up so I don't have to worry about it snowing again and then me worrying about you taking a 5 to 6 hour drive. So luckily Con is almost at school, just about an hour away at this point. So much easier, less worries. All went well yesterday with that. Okay, so that is the life stuff. I do have a TV show and a book if you are interested. Mo and I have been watching, well, I told you about Vera. I watched the first episode, I think this last season, excuse me, only has 2 episodes. I watched the first one, and now I think it's just the finale, like season ending finale, which I think has come out, so I do have to watch that. But Mo and I were watching Black Doves. That is I believe, Netflix show. I'm almost sure it's Netflix. It stars Keira Knightley, and it is about, Black Doves are basically kind of like female spies-ish. They don't work for a specific country. They work for an organization. This takes place in England. So the Black Dove, she is married to the Minister of the Defense, I believe. I am almost sure. And, you know, they play the long game. They're not really sleeper agents necessarily like you think of with spies, but along those lines, they kind of get embedded in a regular life, and then they can spy, and the organization kind of works for whoever pays them, to be honest with you. And so without giving too much away, it's a short, I think it's 6 episode series. And I have no idea if it's a one and done or if there'll be more. It starts off with kind of a series of murders, and that just takes you down a whole rabbit hole from there, start to finish. Mo and I really enjoyed it. I do have to give you a couple of warnings. It is very violent. So if you do not like violence, blood, gory, and I don't generally always care for that. And there's certain shows where like Mo and I would like, nope, that's a you show, Mo. That's not a me show. But this one, I thought the acting was fantastic, but the dialogue was snappy and funny, and it was enough for me to overlook the violence. So it's very violent. Language is not excessive, and then there is nudity and sexual situations. So if that makes you feel uncomfortable, then I would say this might not be the show for you either. Having said all of those disclaimers, like I said, the dialogue was super snappy. This is the type of show where now that I know everything, I'm going to go back and watch it again, because you kind of get a little lost as to who is who and what's going on at different times. And I would say if you could binge it, you're probably better off. We would watch an episode, and then I think like Mo had to, I don't know, there was a few days Mo was watching something else, and so then we kind of had to reorient ourselves. So if you can kind of watch it straight through, I think that would make it a little bit easier to understand. But you were rooting for people that are not really good people, like, but not rooting, but they would say kind of funny things, and it was chuckling. And so, you know, I mean, in the end, I did enjoy it. Mo did enjoy it. But I do have to watch it again. And I'm actually looking forward to watching it again so that I can kind of get all of the details I missed the first time. Just like I said, violence, nudity, and sexual situations. If any of that is not something you like, no, I shouldn't say that, like, but if any of that bothers you, then I would say skip it. If it doesn't bother you, we both enjoyed the series. And like I said, I have no idea if this is something that will be just a one-off or if there'll be more seasons after this. All right, then what did I read? So I actually read the second book in a series, which I don't think I ever talked to you about the first one. You know that I am a big fan of Fantasy Fangirls podcast. They did deep dives into both Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. And this past 2024, they spent the entire year doing a deep dive into ACOTAR, the entire series, which I didn't realize there was another book coming. I'm going to go through and listen to their entire thing. I've read the series. I'm going to go through the whole year's worth, probably after their Onyx Storm one, maybe, and go through all that. Super excited. But anyway, they did announce what after Onyx Storm, what their next deep dive would be, and they were choosing a new author. And so they announced it, and I ended up getting the books from that author. So right now, this is, I don't know if it's only supposed to be a 3 out of a 3. Books 1 and 2 have been published. Book 3 is coming out. It's pre-ordered for a March release of 2025. The author is Penn Cole. So the first book in the series is Spark of the Everflame, and the second book is called Glow of the Everflame. I read Spark, I don't know, maybe a month or 2 ago, and I meant to talk about it, but I forgot. And then this past week, I ended up reading Glow of the Everflame. So I try to, and I don't know if these books have any trigger warnings in the beginning. I do try to give, you know, what would be considered either trigger warnings or things like that when I recommend books, because I want to make sure, you know, I'm not recommending something that could be uncomfortable for you in any way, shape, or form. And no, there doesn't look to be any trigger warnings in these. Sometimes with, and these are, I would call them romantasy, so romance fantasy. Having said that, I would say that they are low on the spicy level. Some of the romantasy books are, you know, if you have a spice level of a 5, they could be 3, 4, 5. These might be a 1. So if kind of the spice levels bother you, these do not have that same level. There's maybe some, say, off camera, so to speak, off page interactions, and, you know, some innuendos and things like that. But for the most part, you're not going to get a lot of that. There's also not a lot of language that is swearing, which again, I read it and I just kind of move on. It doesn't faze me one way or the other. But if it bothers you, some books are not for you. But I don't remember thinking, oh boy, there's a lot in these books. There's not. Now, I would say I probably would give this book maybe between a 3 and a 3.5. I was a little frustrated with it, but not enough to not continue the series. This one I would probably give a 4. It's not up there for me in like a 5 out of 5 kind of thing. This one, the reason why I give it a little bit less is, so this takes place at a time where you have, you know, in lands. So you have, say you have the world with all its countries, and then you have within the countries different provinces, states, whatever they happen to be. So you have the bigger picture and then the separate sections. So the main character, she lives in an area, and that this world is divided up into descendants, which are magical people, people who have magic, and mortals who don't. The descendants have the power, the money, the wealth, the control. The mortals do not. She is born immortal, but through a series of events, she has the chance in these books to kind of change society, sort of thing, without kind of giving too much of the story away. What I didn't like about this book was they hinted and they talked about things happening now. She's a 20-year-old girl, but would reference vague references to things that happened to her when she was a young child. In most cases, a lot of times the authors would then, like in italics, give you kind of like a scene or two of something that happened 10 years ago. And so you kind of get a backstory. There was no backstory. It just kept, the vague allusions just kept. So I was frustrated with that. I don't need you to flesh out in a series everything in the first book, but I do need to know more about my main character. Why are these things happening? Give me more than just kind of like a vague, well, you know, when I was a kid, something happened. I mean, literally, that's the way it goes. So I was interested and invested enough to finish the book and to read the next one. Then in this one, you know, the story has gone along and we have moved along. Each one ends on a cliffhanger because they all want to end on cliffhangers nowadays, right? And so I am invested enough to read the next book when it comes out. For the podcast, they have said that when there is a series, they will give spoilers for an entire series. So for example, if you were to watch or listen to the ACOTAR, if you have not read all of the books in the series, you could get spoilers. So before I listen to their deep dive, I want to make sure I've read all the books in the series on this one that will be available. They fleshed out more of the background to a certain degree, but they still, the storyline still has things that in the want of keeping things mystery, some things were kept too hidden. So that's why it got a 4 rather than a 5. But the action did kind of pop up a little bit more here. There was more to it. There was more magic in this one than there is in the first book. And the storyline has moved farther. There's a massive cliffhanger on this one. So of course now I have to read the third one. I would recommend them, but I would say they're not like 5 out of 5s. When I read Fourth Wing, I would have called that one I called a 5 out of 5, would have recommended it in a heartbeat, and loved it, have reread it twice. I've read it 3 times and listened to it. These, I like them, and I may kind of skim over some rereads just to familiarize myself for the third one, but I wouldn't say that these are the best books ever. Enjoyable, but not my high level recommendations, but enough to pass some time. Absolutely. And so that's the books that was what I read this week. And I don't know if I have anything coming up. I listen when people give recommendations, and I have a list, so I have to see what's available at my library this week, or I don't know. Obviously on the 21st, Onyx Storm's supposed to come in, and that will be my read then. So we'll see. Alrighty, that is all I have. So I hope you are well. Oh, my friends in California. Oh, I want to say I hope you are safe. I hope you are safe. And my heart breaks for everybody who has lost their homes, who is fearful of losing their homes, who is breathing in all of that smoke, who is just scared and worried. And I am thinking about you, and I am just hoping beyond hope that they get everything contained in as quick a possible time as possible. My friends down in the south right now might be getting some snow and some ice, as this little storm that we're getting little bits on tomorrow, but some of you are getting some ice, so I hope you're all right down there with your snow and your ice. Beyond that, I was texting with Meg, and both her and Liz were sick this week, so there's all sorts of stuff going around. I hope you're well, healthy, safe, all of that good stuff. Take care of yourself. Remember, though, that you are important, so take extra special care of yourself because of that. You matter. What is important to you matters because you matter. So I always want you to remember that. So let's get some stitching in, and until next time, happy stitching.